You're here because you want that HR edge.
Yeah.
And I get it. Who really has time to dig through tons of research? We're going to help you with that today. We're taking a deep dive into HR analytics. This is going to change the way you think about building a great team. I can almost guarantee it.
It's fascinating how HR is shifting, It's becoming less about gut feelings and more about data. There's this document, The Power of Data. It really highlights how data can show us so much about what a company is good at and where it might be struggling. And talent is a big part of that.
Okay, so we're using data to make better decisions about hiring, right? But where do you even start?
I think it starts with the key metrics, right? The
Yeah.
ones that really matter. One of those is time to hire. And we saw in the Growth Tribe YouTube video, it's like a super important metric. It can make or break you in today's job market. Top candidates are gone so fast, like 10 days fast.
10 days. Wow, that is fast. So if your hiring process takes weeks or even months, you're kind of in trouble then. How do you even measure time to hire, though? Do you need some fancy software or something?
Not really, actually. The video breaks down a simple method from Hire by Google. You just add up the time it took to hire for each role, and you do it over a certain period, like let's say a month, and then you divide it by the number of people you hired that month.
Got it. So you end up with an average showing you how long it takes to fill a position.
Yeah.
So then what, how do I know what a good time to hire even is? Is there a way to tell if I'm on track or if I'm totally behind?
Yeah. Benchmarking, right. That's the key. And the video mentions a tool from Workable. You can use it to compare your time to hire to other companies in your industry, in your area even. It's a great way to see how you stack up against the competition.
Love that. So you can see how you compare and then find areas to improve. Because, yeah, if you're taking way longer to hire than your competitors, you're probably missing out on some amazing people.
Exactly. And the YouTube video actually suggests you go a step further, dig deeper to find out where the holdups are in your hiring process. Maybe it takes forever to screen resumes, or the hiring managers are slow to give feedback. Data can help you spot those problems and streamline the process.
It's like you're a detective trying to solve a mystery, a hiring mystery. So it's not just about the time to hire. It's about figuring out why it takes that long and making it faster. And there are tools to help with all this, which is awesome. We actually put together a list in the show notes you can check out.
For sure. And another really important metric is sourcing statistics. When everyone's fighting for talent, you can't just wait for applications. You got to be smart about finding candidates.
Right. So data can play a big role here too. Instead of just trying random things, you can use data to see which sourcing channels are actually giving you the best people.
Absolutely. The YouTube video gives this great example of a company. They realized that many of their best employees, the ones who stayed with them for a long time, they all came from one specific job board. That's valuable information. It tells you where to focus your efforts.
Makes total sense. But wouldn't you also want to look at the quality of the people you hire from each source? Like maybe one job board gets you tons of applicants, but they're not the right fit for the company.
Definitely. It's quality over quantity every time. And that's where the data comes in. You don't want to just go off of one bad experience. You need the data to see the whole picture and make a good decision about which channels are really working for you.
Okay, so how do you track all this? Do you just ask people where they heard about the job?
You can, but there's a better way. The Growth Tribe YouTube video suggests using your applicant tracking system, your ATS, to create separate application links for each source. Oh, okay, I get it. So instead of giving everyone the same link, you create one for each job board, each social media platform, each referral program, and that way you can track where everyone's coming from.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to get super specific, you can use something called UTM parameters.
UTM parameters. Sounds a little complicated. What are those?
They're not as bad as they sound, promise. They're basically little codes you add to those application links. They let you track a ton of info in Google Analytics about where your candidates are coming from.
So instead of just knowing someone came from LinkedIn, you could see which LinkedIn group they came from or which ad they clicked on. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. And the best part, Google Analytics is free. The YouTube video even shows you how to make a UTM code and breaks it all down. The campaign named the medium the source. Super helpful.
That's amazing. But I gotta say, making all those UTM codes sounds kind of tedious. Is there anything that makes that easier? There are tools out there, free ones too, like UTM.io and Bitly. They generate those codes for you in seconds. And then once you have all that juicy data in Google Analytics, you can visualize it with things like Tableau or even just Excel and Google Sheets, good old spreadsheets.
Okay, so we've covered time to hire and sourcing statistics. What's next? What other key metrics should we be looking at to really get that HR edge?
Well, let's talk about recruitment funnel effectiveness. Think of it like the candidate's journey from the moment they first hear about your company to the moment they accept a job offer.
I like that. It's like a journey. But how do you actually measure how effective that journey is?
One really important measure is the website visitor to applicant conversion rate. Basically, how many people who visit your careers page actually apply.
Makes sense. You could have tons of people visiting your page, but if no one's applying, something's not working.
Okay.
So what's a good conversion rate? How do you know if you're doing well or if you need to make changes?
The YouTube video shared some data from JobVite. They say a good rate is usually above 11%. If you're below that, you might need to tweak your employer brand or make your website easier to use.
Okay, so what if my conversion rate is below 11%? What can I do to fix it?
This is where Google Analytics comes in again. It can tell you so much about what people are doing on your careers page. You can see where they come from, where they leave, and how long they stay on each page. It's super valuable.
It's like you're secretly watching them to see what they like and don't like.
Kind of. And the YouTube video gives some good tips on how to use those insights to make actual changes. Like, you could use pop-up surveys to get feedback from candidates about the careers page, or analyze the data to see where people are getting stuck.
Smart, instead of just guessing, you're actually getting data to help you make decisions.
And don't forget about mobile optimization. So many people apply for jobs on their phones now. Your careers page has to look good and be easy to use on a phone.
True. You can't ignore mobile these days. Okay, so we've talked about time to hire, sourcing statistics, and recruitment funnel effectiveness. It's kind of amazing how much you can learn from these data points.
It is, and this is just scratching the surface of HR analytics. The key is to just start somewhere.
I love that. It can feel kind of overwhelming when you think about all the data out there.
Mhm.
But if you start small, focus on the important stuff, and keep building your data-driven approach, you'll get amazing results.
Exactly. And the best part is you'll be able to see the impact of your decisions and make your HR processes better and better.
It's all about using data to make HR more efficient, more effective, and ultimately more successful. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
Well, and speaking of success, that power of data document we talked about, it actually emphasizes that HR analytics isn't just about improving HR processes, it's about helping the entire organization succeed.
That's a really good point. HR is there to support the business, and data can help us do that in a smarter and more impactful way.
Totally. It can help us really understand our employees, figure out potential problems before they get big, and create a company where everyone's engaged, productive, and successful.
This has been so insightful. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, is there anything else we should be thinking about as we start using more data in HR?
There is one thing. It's something every HR professional needs to consider.
Okay, what is it?
It's about finding a balance between using the power of data and respecting our employees' privacy.
Yeah, that's really important. Data can be powerful,
Yeah,
but it's also personal. We have to be careful to use it responsibly and ethically.
exactly. And we'll dive deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive. You're absolutely right. Finding that balance is so important. We have all this data, but we have to remember these are real people.
For sure. It's not just about the numbers. It's about making good decisions for our people and for the company.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm not even sure where to start with making sure we're using data responsibly.
I think a lot of people feel that way. It's something that the Power of Data document actually talks about. They really emphasize transparency. Like, that's the foundation of trust when it comes to data and your employees.
So being open with employees about what data we're collecting, why, and how we're using it.
Exactly. No surprises, no hidden agendas. People need to feel confident that we're handling their data the right way.
Makes sense. But transparency is just one piece of the puzzle, right? We also need to make sure the data is accurate and secure.
Absolutely. Data accuracy is super important. If you're making decisions based on bad data, it can cause all kinds of problems. Unfair performance reviews, biased hiring practices, you name it.
And data security is huge too. We've all heard those stories about data breaches and how bad they can be. We have to protect our employees' information.
Yeah, for sure. That means having really strong data security measures in place. Things like strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, data encryption, all that stuff we know we should be doing.
So it sounds like creating a culture of responsible data use is a big job. Transparency, data accuracy, security, always checking to make sure we're doing the right thing.
It is, and it's not a one-time thing either. It's an ongoing process. Technology is always changing. New ways of collecting data are popping up. We have to stay informed and adapt.
Okay, so we've covered responsible data use. Let's talk about how we can actually use this data to make things better for our employees. Happy employees are more productive employees, right?
Totally. And that's where the real power of HR analytics comes in. Using data to figure out what makes people happy at work and what we can do to create a work environment where they can thrive.
So where do we start? What are some areas where data can help us improve the employee experience?
Onboarding's a good place to start. It's the first impression, right? It can make or break someone's experience.
Oh, I know that feeling. I had a job once where the onboarding was a total nightmare. I spent days just trying to set up my computer and figure out who to ask for basic information. It was so frustrating.
Exactly. A bad onboarding experience can really set the wrong tone. But the good news is data can help us avoid those kinds of situations.
How so?
Well, we can track certain metrics like time to productivity, how long it takes someone to get up to speed, employee satisfaction with the onboarding process, early attrition rates. We can use all that to figure out what needs to change.
So instead of crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, we can see what's working, what's not, and use data to create a better, smoother onboarding experience.
Yes. And those changes could be anything: streamlining paperwork, getting IT set up faster, creating a buddy system for new hires, maybe even personalizing the onboarding based on someone's role or what they need.
It's amazing how we can use data to create a more tailored experience for new employees. But onboarding is just one part of the employee experience, right? Where else can data help?
Think about the things that really matter to people: work-life balance, career development opportunities, recognition and rewards, the physical work environment. It's all connected.
I see what you mean. And data can help us see those connections and figure out where we can make a difference. Like maybe the data shows that employees who take advantage of professional development are happier and stay with the company longer.
Exactly. And with that information, you could put more resources into training and development programs, create mentoring opportunities, even offer tuition reimbursement.
And then, of course, track the impact of those programs to see if they're actually making a difference.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about using data to create a feedback loop, make decisions, measure the results, and see what's really working.
This is all so insightful.
Mm.
But before we go too far, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, spotting potential problems before they become big issues.
That's a really important part of HR analytics, too, using data to create an early warning system.
So like seeing signs of burnout, people who are checked out, or maybe even thinking about leaving the company.
Right. We can track things like absenteeism, drops in productivity, even changes in how people communicate. If we see those red flags, we can reach out and offer support before a small problem becomes a crisis.
It's like we're creating a culture of care where we're using data not to micromanage or punish, but to understand what people need and help them be their best.
And that's really what it's all about, using data to make work better for everyone.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive on HR analytics, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away?
Data is powerful, but it's not magic. It's up to us to use it the right way, ethically, responsibly, and always with people in mind.
We have to remember that there are real people behind all those numbers. And if we use data to understand and support those people, we can create a workplace where everyone feels valued, engaged, and ready to do their best work.
And that's a win for everyone, for employees, for the organization, and for the future of work.
So before the break, we were talking about using data, to build a better, more supportive work environment. I'm curious, how do we actually put those ideas into practice?
It's about taking those insights and doing something with them, right? We talked about onboarding, figuring out what motivates employees, and spotting those red flags early on. But it's all about turning that knowledge into action.
Can you give me an example? What would that actually look like?
Okay, let's say your data showing you that employees who have flexible work arrangements are reporting better work-life balance and they're happier overall.
Yeah, flexibility is a big deal these days.
It is. And data can actually show us the impact of those perks. Put a number on it.
Yeah.
So you see that and you decide, okay, we're going to implement a formal flexible work policy, let people adjust their schedules, work remotely when they need to.
I see. So you're using the data to make a real change.
Mm.
And then you'd want to track how that new policy is working right.
Exactly. You measure things like employee satisfaction with the policy, see if productivity changes, even look at attrition rates. If it's all positive, you know you're on the right track.
It's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
You use data, you make changes, you get more data, you learn, you adapt.
That's what I love about HR analytics. It's not just about the numbers. It's about using the numbers to tell a story, a story about what's working, what's not, and how we can make things better.
I love that. Data with a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And when you approach it that way, you can do some amazing things. You can build a team that's engaged and excited to be there, make the whole organization more productive. and create a work experience that people actually enjoy.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've covered so much, from the basics like key metrics to the ethical stuff and how data can actually improve the employee experience.
Mhm.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on HR analytics.
It's been great talking about this with you. And remember, this is just the beginning for you. There's so much to explore when it comes to data and how it can impact your organization.
So to our listener out there, if you're feeling inspired to unlock the power of HR analytics, jump in. Start small. Try things out. Don't be afraid to experiment a little. And we've put together a bunch of resources in the show notes to help you get started.
Absolutely. And if you have questions or you've discovered some cool things you're doing with data, we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of HR analytics. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep using data to make work a better place for everyone.